Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the academic party and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 489th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to take your seats. Good afternoon. I am Eileen Bush-Vishniak, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. This afternoon, I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming all of you to Convocation. Before we start our formal program, may I ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that might ring, whir, play music, or otherwise add to the auditory effects. Thank you. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Linton Wilson, to make his own welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, a very good afternoon to you all. President and Vice Chancellor, Madam Provost, Dean Crosta, our honorary graduate, members of the Platform Party, graduands, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this 489th Convocation of McMaster University. To those graduating, you've reached an important milestone, an exciting milestone in your lives. Many of you will begin careers, embarking on new journeys. Some of you will be continuing your education or preparation for more advanced or specialized activities. To the parents, grandparents, family members, spouses, and friends here today, you may bask in reflected glory and take pride in the accomplishments being recognized in this convocation. To our faculty and staff, today marks tangible recognition of your efforts, particularly the successes of your students evident in this ceremony. I wish you all an enjoyable afternoon.
I would now like to introduce Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting our honorary degree recipient.
Mr. Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Steve Smith. Steve Smith is a legendary Canadian comedian who secured his place in our nation's folklore with his famous red-green character and the Red-Green Show. Mr. Smith's achievements, including work and contributions far beyond red-green, have delighted fans and made him a comedy icon across Canada and the United States. After studying engineering at the University of Waterloo and earning a teaching certificate at Lakeshore College in Toronto, Mr. Smith taught at elementary school and worked a variety of jobs before he and his wife Morag formed the comedy duo Smith and Smith. In 1979, the Smiths created the sketch comedy series Smith and Smith for CHCH Hamilton, where Mr. Smith would not only write, produce, and star in all 195 episodes, but eventually created the character of Red Green. The Smiths also created the reality-inspired TV series Me and Max, as well as the Comedy Mill for CHCH. Despite his significant early success, it was the hit CHCH program The Red-Green Show that made Mr. Smith a star and later a household name when the show was picked up by CBC. By the time the show's final episode aired in 2006, it was not only broadcast nationally, but on nearly 90 PBS stations in the United States. In addition to the popular TV series, Red Green took over the big screen in 2002 in the aptly titled Duct Tape Forever. Shot in and around Hamilton, the film garnered a Genie Award nomination for Best Achievement in Music Original Score. The $3.5 million film was supported significantly in production by Red Green's loyal viewers, who volunteered many of the duct tape sculptures required by the plot. More recently, Red Green has appeared on stage as Mr. Smith reprised the character for his Wit and Wisdom tour this year and last. Mr. Smith and his distinctive, recognizable characters have been fixtures of Canadian television and media for 3 decades. He has appeared in iconic Canadian television shows such as Due South and Royal Canadian Air Farce, and, as the Red-Green character, has written a syndicated newspaper column distributed by Newspaper Enterprise Association. Mr. Smith has also established an exceptional career behind the camera. He executive produced television series and specials such as History Bites Mother Britain, which received a Gemini nomination for Best Comedy Program, along with numerous other efforts through the Smith family's production company, S&S Productions. A member of the Order of Canada, Mr. Smith has earned 27 Gemini nominations, including 2 wins for the Comedy Mill and the Red Green Show, and he has received the Earl Grey Award from the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. Mr. Chancellor, Steve Smith is a Canadian icon. His endeavors in the performing arts have added a special chapter to the lexicon of Canadian comedic culture. His ideas and style have provided enjoyment to millions of people across this country and beyond, and I ask that you recognize these contributions by conferring upon him the degree Doctor of Letters honoris causa.
before I've awarded the degree. Wait till afterwards. Stephen Smith, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Letters honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations, Steve. I now have the pleasure to ask Dr. Smith, alias Red Green, to deliver the convocation address. Dr. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for this honor. The irony is I actually enrolled in McMaster in the fall of 1968. And then at Christmas of 1969, I dropped out thinking there's got to be an easier way to get a degree. Obviously, I was correct. But I must say that, there are a couple of downsides that come with this honorary doctorate. For years, I've been saying to women, I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look. Well, that's out the window, And I'm not sure that this degree has any practical application. I dreamt the other night that I was at a theater and the announcer came over the PA system and said, we have an audience member in the lobby faking an illness. Is there an honorary doctor in the house? And, the other thing that came with it was they wanted me to give some advice to the graduates, which I think is a little punitive. But then I realized your job is to listen to the advice, so I think I came out a little better on that deal. So here we go. I mean, here you are going off to the world with a lot of advantages. Not the least of which is you're doing it from Canada, which means that you've received one of the best educations in the world from a balanced perspective. Yes. Provided to you by a cost that does not encumber you with massive student loans. We don't do that to our students here. In Canada, we think personal debt should be manageable so that taxes can be onerous. Besides, the less personal debt you have, the more disposable income you have to buy lottery tickets. So in Canada, we do things a bit differently. We subsidize education and health care. When my American friends ask me why we do that, I say, it's because we want healthy, educated people deciding who should be in power. But here you are, going off with very little personal debt and a degree. And the main thing that that degree says is that you are a person who can finish what they start. That's a big deal. A prospective employer, what it means to them is that you may not be completely useless. I predict that as you go through life, you will appreciate people who finish what they start, and I expect that each of you will be one of them. I've heard that a young person going into the workforce today will have many employers throughout their career. I don't believe that. I think you'll only have one employer, yourself. I prefer you to look at it as if you're self-employed. You're not only the product or service, you're also the entire staff and management team. Your boss is not your boss. You are the boss. your boss is only your most important customer. So important customers will come and go. You, as the boss, will never be fired. Another thing I would recommend is that you always charge 10% less than what your services are worth. That will add value and encourage customer loyalty. Now, if you're working in a job where everybody gets paid the same, you're going to have to make up the difference by working 10% more. I don't approve of that. I've always preferred being paid less than working more, but maybe that's why it took me 43 years to get a degree. You'll also hear career counselors talking about passion. You should follow your passion. I don't agree with that either. You might have a passion for throwing horseshoes, and I question that throwing horseshoes will lead to a fully realized existence. I recommend instead that you identify your marketable skills. Your customers will help you do that. Don't ask your family. They love you, so they're of no help whatsoever. Your family is there to prevent you from sliding backwards. You have to find a way to move forward on your own. So once you've identified your marketable skills, I suggest you point out the one that you have some passion for, and then ride the hell out of it. That is your ace. You've got to play your ace. The other skills are your 9s and 10s. If you want to get to the final table, play the ace. You might think that one of the 9s or 10s are trump, but in life, there is no trump. I've also heard that there aren't very many jobs available in this current economic environment. I don't believe that either, but on the other hand, I'm a burnt-out old man who doesn't even need a job, so that helps. But to me, it's only logical that there are a zillion opportunities out there, because one of the fundamental driving forces behind any business is to be able to find access to new markets. That's where there were conquerors and explorers and Walmart. And in the history of the world, there's never been more access to new markets than what the internet can provide. So companies, large and small, who are embracing that and using that technology are growing and hiring. Companies that are shrinking are not hiring. But why would you want to work there anyway? You know, a company that's shrinking will probably not be larger 5 years from now. So I suggest you pick a company that's growing, hook onto your marketable skill that you're excited about, go in there, do your best sales pitch to your most important customer, and offer your services at 10% less than they're worth. Now, I'm not going to talk very much longer because I can feel myself nodding off. But I did want to add that you should try to bring something new to your job. Don't be afraid to be innovative and creative. You are not here on earth to be a younger version of your father or your mother, or in Chaz Bono's case, both. You know, you are here to be the best version of yourself. Be true to that. In the entire population of the world, you are the one person most qualified to be you. And one last thing, and I know this is a lot to ask, but while you're building that career with your passion for your marketable skill, I'd like you to apply the same focus and energy to your friends and family. They are your most important customers too, and they pay in a much higher currency. So if you're lucky enough to find a life partner, maybe build a family, or maybe just have a circle of friends, you need to treat them well. You need to look after them. They will be a very rewarding part of your life. So thank you again for this great honor. I'm excited about the future for all of you here in this room. Have fun. Life is good.
You can tell, Dr. Smith, by the warmth of the applause that your remarks were well thought out, well received, and lighthearted, which is a very important touch on an afternoon like this. We're delighted to have you as a graduate of this university, notwithstanding the length of time that it's taken to get you here. But I thank you for those remarks and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Dr. Smith.
President Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees and diplomas upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit you to your individual degrees in McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, may I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study but who are not present.
I declare all these degrees conferred in absentia.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, it would be appreciated if, during the presentation of the graduates, you would hold your applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Christina Brooks. Michael Mikulak. Dilia Natalie Narduzzi. Katrine Raymond. Robbie Richardson. Brenda Catherine Hooper-Goranson. Jeremy Paul Prue. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Arts. Lisa Barty. Christine Alexandra Morano.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors. Susan Agada. Tyler Gordon Reed Aglor. Maria Alexieva. Danielle Alessi. Kieran Alkerton. Daniel Starr Allen. Jennifer Alonso. Kayla Ray Amy. Amanda Joy Anchor. Kristen Leanne Archer. Elisa Ashby. Christopher Okwa. Kelly Michael Ann Bacon. Matthew Bendura. Alexandra Mary Barthos. Kristen Bacherin. Jessica Bowman. Kaula Bengezi. Adam Banish. Rachel Burney. Mona Bisharati. Matthew Ross Bickerton. Tony Rebecca Birch. Misha K.D. Blackman. Brendan Blackmore. David Borsato. Carissa Bowerman. Stephen Andrew Boxall. Leah Elizabeth Boyd. Lauren Rose Bradbrook. Catherine Brash. Laura Vanessa Bromwich. Melissa Elizabeth Brown. Virginia Lauren Brown. Jacob Bryan. Lisa Diane Buckley. Robin Marie Budd. Christine Aaron Bugler. Samantha Lisa Butler. Jessica Psnonek. Maria Calandrino. Vincent Camilleri. Rochelle Lynn Capriotti. Kayla Alice Carr. John Serpenjak. Nicole Jean Chakra. Sherry Chettle. Stella Chu. Johnny Cheng. Lian Chin-Fook. Lauren Ashley Chin-Yu. Christopher Clark. Danielle Clark. Mariel Cristina Concepcion. Daniel Corin. Anthony Manuel Costa. Caitlin Elizabeth Kugler. Amanda June Coulthard. Shauna Cowden. April Victoria Coxon. Emma Crognale. Jessica Catherine Croak. Alessandra Dovidio. Carolyn Daly. Lisa Dane. Brian Robert Decker. Emily Dell. Michael Desjardins. Alexandra Despond. Zachary Duxbury. Nisha Dhaliwal. Paola Di Clemente. Emily DiNardo. Lauren Emily Dickerson. Vanessa Divers. Megan Emily Doby. Stuart Wilson Doby. Andrea Doran. Sarah Catherine Doyle. Mallory Joanne Drum. Caitlin Lee Duarte. Ashley Sylvia Emanuela Faletta. Emily Farkas. Marissa Natalie Fiorillo. Courtney Fisher. Stephen Forster. Diana Foley. Christopher Scott Forrest. Jeremy David Forsyth. Emma Foster. David Franciosa. Sonia Furdyke. Leah Danielle Furtney. Ronak Gandhi. Brittany Robin Gatavikas. Elena Dorothy Germani. Ana Maria Gianmarco. Kenneth Gibson. Fiona Royale Gillette Smythe. Janie Ginsberg. Alexandra Catherine Glass. Eric Matthew Gertson. Jenna Graham. Rebecca Graper. Janelle Roslyn Grattan. Mallory Louisa Green. Hillary Page Grenville. Mark Anthony Gurissi. Aurora Gutierrez Ruiz. Sarah Irene Haney. Danielle Lauren Henson. Roxanne Hathaway Baxter. Daniel Peter Howie. Kevin Hazard. Jennifer Helsden. Nicole Hammer. Valerie Michelle Hillman. Jennifer Catherine Hodges. Leanne Holland. Dory Hone. Alana Hoy. Adrian Hunter. Brendan William John Yaboni. Christina Carmel Ilagon. Joel Jackson. Jessica Louise Jacksa. Faiza Jama. Konrad Janowski. Lauren Elizabeth Jones. Nicole Jones. Rose Kalustian. Norman Michael Kearney. Samantha Joan Evelyn Kelly. Sojin Kim. Yesley Kim. Michael Thomas King. Aslan Madza Kirkpatrick. Leah Klein. Philip Alexander Klippenstein Jimenez. Kimberly Cecile Mary Knox. Laura Elizabeth Knox. Edward Michael Koenig. Jeff Komaransky. Amanda Kaustik. Cassandra May Kochuk. Felicia Labriola. Emily Elizabeth Lackey. Alisa Lahe. William Frederick David Landry. Michelle Lanigan. Diana Lazzaro. Christina Lee. Harrison Lee. Stephanie Elizabeth Lee. Colin Leggett. Jason David Leite. Marta Magdalena Lesinski. Meredith R. Lister. Sarah Elizabeth Little. Elise Ann Loft. Danielle Jean Longo. Alicia Alexis Looper. Selena Barros Lopez. Thomas Allen Lord. Kimberly Kathleen Love. Maria Lukic. Alicia Firoz Dostamadani. Blake Gerald Mallet. Chantal Melissa. Jenna May Marino. Christopher Martin. Parker David Martin. Nicole Martins Ferreira. Megan Catherine Ann Martins. Brian Mason. Maybelline Massey. Gabriela Leonor Maza. Darren and Drew John McClure. Caitlin McDowell. Hope Deanna Patricia McGilly. Julia Rose McIntosh. David Edward Arthur McNulty. Grace Medeiros. Karen Delas Menicola. Thomas Edward Miller. Mark David Minardi. Rebecca Misiak. Katie Leanne Mitten. Ola Mohammed. Sahar Manzavi. Lawrence Morancy Charbonneau. Jennifer Morrow. Amanda Moss. Bartek Mostoviak. Tim Mueller. Deborah Murdoch. Ariana Frances Musiol. Catherine Musk. Nicola Naismith. Andrea Cristina Neshita. Vanessa Nicholas. Patricia Noyes. Megan O'Hara. Jasmine Oducado. Cheryl Oliver. Patrick Olszewski. Celeste Elizabeth Orr. Rebecca Ortiz. Vincent Osterman. Elizabeth Laura Austell. Holly Laura Ovans. Michela Paolini. Graham Park. Elizabeth Rachel Parker. Matthew Pereira. Roxana Pavlovsky. Jessica Pierce. Stephanie Pecora. Rachel Elizabeth Peeler. Vivian Peets. Leia Eve Perez. Jessica Perkins. Jessica Petta. Robert Petty. Jessica Pettigrew. Angela Piazza. Stephanie Catherine Pyle. Heather Alexandra Pilling. Andrew Richard Pinault. Zoe Natasha Pulias. David Michael Pridham. Kylie Tamara Ramdeen. Allison Rankin. Justine Rankin. Shauna Richards. Trevor Patrick Roach. Bethany Nicole Robinson. Jillian Diane Robinson. Thomas Rocky. Jennifer Rogers. Joseph Rogers. Emily Regolia. Gregory Rukolenko. Cassandra Romanescu Vintu. Natalie Romano. Nurja Rostami Jam. Kieran William Roy Taylor. Emily Ryersey. Fatima Zera Salim. Cara Larissa Saltmarsh. Sindhu Bhairavi Sathanathan. Jean Elizabeth Schiller. Michael Alexandru Schneider. Paige Marie Schubert. Alexander Scott. Rachel Joy Scott. Megan Siemens. Alicia Heather Salves. Teresa Scoppa. Lindsay Scroll. Man Shak. Christina Sheldrake. Lindsay Sherman. Delaney Rianne Chaudine. Diana Siegenthaler. David Sekanowitz. Sabrina Silk. Drew William Simon. Laura Christine Simon. Brett Smith. Catherine Hannah Snyder McNair. Sol Gison. Laura Sorbara. Sarah Diana Sousa. Jacqueline Sarah Spears. Lauren Irene Sroka. Carly Staten. Rebecca Steckham. Megan Marie Steenhoek. E. Claire Stewart. Nina Stratemeyer. Brendan Kenneth Sullivan. Ivan Suaresho. Kathleen Zook. Kaylee Elizabeth Tate. Vern Rickson Tam. Samantha Tamas. Derek Michael Taylor. Lindsay Tarana. Kaylin Michael Thibault. Haley Thompson. Leslie Diane Thornton. Victoria Tizard. Christine Todd. Elizabeth Diane Todd. Tobias James Tresidder. Alexandra Tristani. Kelsey Sheila Juliet Tulk. Nathalie Marie Tusuzian. Rosalie Ann Yusenica. Tristan Vanderbent. Bruno Hector Viacava Rivera. Reginald Villarizza. Stephanie Wagenhammer. Cassandra Walden. Dana Walker. Tyler Walker. Aaron Wall. Laura Wall. Stephanie Walsh. Allison Watson. Jennifer Lisa Wistance Smith. Jackson Thomas Wilson. Melissa Wilson. Melissa Windsor. Emily Elizabeth Jewel Whitmer. Amy Janine Wood. Adam Woodcox. Sherry Warden. Evelyn Vrubal. Kristaline Wiley. Susan Yantha. Katie Elizabeth Yancey. Chris Eunice. Catherine Mary Zagar. Madeline Jane Zeku. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Music Honors. Josephine Beyundo. Jana Chu. Matthew James Christie. Daniel Empringham. Sarah Iwanchuk. Amy Foster. Sharon Sally Giddings. Scott Gingrich. Sarah Christine Hashi. Stephanie Marie Hanks. Monica Catherine Holmes. Pin Wan Huang. Emily Isaac. Naomi Dimusu Jayaratna. Jorel Latendresse. Natalia Manley de Bauer. Andrew Joseph Marcaccio. Stephen L. McRae. Eric Mertens. Aaron Morrell. Virginia Najjar. Anthony Paolini. Ryan Michael Peplinski. Sarah Salvatore. Giulia Marie Sansone. Nicholas Serbina. Amanda Schutz. Chris Solecki. Michael Lorne Yates.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Science Honors. Karina Cynthia Armstrong. Jessica Alexandra Ashbourne. Patrick Thomas Byrne. Michael Capitano. Rebecca Michelle Barbara Cherniak. Ruth Catherine Collins. Elaine Klasina Koski. Robin Christine Ellis. Alessandra Christina Gage. Catherine Gorgius. James Grice. Christopher Weber Hilbrecht. Angela Irwin. Stephanie Kelowan. Mary Jennifer Koziol. Angel Lai. Eri Ne Le Lu. Yang Li. Sean Lemon. Kion Maleki Yazdi. Margaret Ann Grace Mansell. Ellen McCauley. Simone Aviva Mendel. Chiara Roseanne Meneguzzi. Alexandra Victoria Mikulan. Christopher Jordan Milko. Ishani Nath. Jennifer Louise Nicole. Hillary M. L. Node. Jennifer Elizabeth Payne. Daniel Penn. Andrew Vincent Prine. Natalie Mary Razzo. Shore Sotaninia. Aaron Stone. Gillian Elizabeth Ann Stothart. Nina Strazula. Maria Margaret Strybos. Anasuya Sherry Surendran. Justin Y. Yu Tong. Hannah Jean Webb. Michael Wexler.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Veronica Mariana Algi. Amy Lynn Almas. Candace Lori Austin. Rena Mohammed Ayash. Krista Jennifer Bailey. Alexandra Marina Barbatban. Erin Berlingeri. Delaney Caulfield. Samuel Sheng. Allison Marie Sillis. Jeremy Brian Allen Curel. Nicholas Carl Delio. Brian Dowd. Allison Margaret Drader. Margaret Duchesne. Allah Farhat. Daniela Flaiani. Stephen Edward Chikatis. Donna Gosling. Vanessa Hartung. Hannah Bernadette Hayward. April Hibbard. Allison Hill. Andrea Hill. Kathleen Copeland Hober. Jillian Ivanchuk. Catherine Emily Keene. Jane Kuzmic. Adriana Larty. Andrea Denise Lully. Johann Mark Ludwig. Crystal Marriott. Christine Elizabeth McLean. Ashley Medeiros. Rebecca May Moline. Ellen Murray. Phai Chanji. Kayla Paraselli. Daniela Ponce Silva. Laura Robinson. Dinah Sakalas. Jeremy Schertzer. Brittany Sherman. Doris Shulman. Leanne Sr. Sarah Hillary Slater. Al Sorabi. Tanya Souza. Nicole Catherine Stearns. Ashley Stennett. Alexandra Jane Stute. Monica Sigvari. Matthew Edward Tobin. James Lee William Van Buskirk. Leah Ver. Stephanie Diana Wayland. Anna Maria Wisnowski. Dalia Ushia. Dinah Sakalas.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Science. Rishon Ijaz. Najin Nahidi. Jihe Shin. Margot Stevenson.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce you to Mr. Norman Kearney, a graduate of the Bachelor of Arts Honors Program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Thank you, Madam Provost, for that introduction. Good afternoon, Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, distinguished guests, friends and family, colleagues and mentors, and of course, Mom. I don't know which one of you is responsible for doing this to me, but I think the meanest thing you could possibly do to a valedictorian is invite a professional funny man to open the evening. So I'm not pleased. I'd like to start by telling you a story. It's an old story of unknown origin, and it tells of a woman who had a chance to see both heaven and hell long before her time. She chose to see hell first, and there she went with God. When she arrived, she was shocked by what she saw. Before her was a dinner table that stretched as far as the eye could see. Gathered round it were a great many people, and before them was a lavish feast of the most succulent foods and refreshing drinks. One would expect to see celebration, but here there was only misery. The voices of the people were raised in shouts of anger and despair. The woman asked God, with all this food before them, why did the people suffer? God urged her to look closer. And when she did, she noticed that in their hands were very long spoons spoons so long that no matter how hard the people tried, they could not bring the food to their mouths. The people were starving, and the suffering was terrible. Then God took her to see heaven, and she was amazed to come upon a very similar scene. A dinner table, many around it, a bounty of food, and the same long spoons. Confused, the woman turned to God and said, "I don't understand." To which God replied, "Hear, my child, the people have learned to feed each other." This story is called the parable of the long spoons. As I said, its origin is unknown, but it reminds us of our great vulnerability and interdependence, experiences that for many of us will have defined our time here at McMaster. We are here today because we helped and were helped by many others, and today is as much our day of celebration as it is a day to honor and to thank those who helped us. One such person who helped me, a dear wise friend and mentor, once told me that education is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. Having accepted our degrees today, we have accepted that responsibility. It is a responsibility to use the knowledge, the skills, and the ways of thinking that we have developed throughout our time here for the betterment not only of ourselves, but also of our communities. In this respect, but how, in a market-driven economy, does a graduate of humanities or the arts and sciences contribute to her community? In her influential manifesto, the American philosopher Martha Nussbaum argues that the special value of an education like ours is its cultivation of empathy. Like our companion disciplines, the sciences, we too learn skills of critical thinking and research, but our unique gift to society is our capacity to relate to the lived experiences of others. In this respect, the humanities, the arts and sciences, art studies, and our time here is vital to the health of democracy. Now, we contribute to this health in many ways, and in combination with the sciences, our capacity to nurture empathy and critical thinking is enhanced. The Arab Spring, the series of democratic revolutions cascading throughout the Middle East, is a poignant example of the use of technology for storytelling. In Arabic, not my mother tongue, so forgive me when I pronounce this, the word for bread is aish, which means life. These stories of revolution, told largely on Twitter, a technology we owe to the sciences, were stories of human dignity, of bread with dignity. They are stories that toppled tyrants and changed the fates of millions. That, my friends, is the power of our stories. We study, create, and share these stories of the human soul, and we help others appreciate the same. Through our art and essays, books and plays, music and movies, we give voice to the richness of human experience. That is our responsibility. My wise friend and mentor did say that education is not a privilege, but in fact, for some, it is a financial privilege. Some of us struggled to get here. I did. Some of us struggled to stay. I did as well. I am the first person in my family to graduate from a post-secondary institution in my family's history, and it was not easy. I nearly dropped out twice. First, because I thought my studies were impractical, and again, because I could hardly afford to buy food. And it's with humility that I graduate today, because I know that outside of these walls are, in fact, 100,000 people who languish in poverty, 1/5 of the population in this city, Hamilton. They may never benefit from the development of character that we enjoyed during our time here. Although I hope that most of us reflect fondly on our time here at McMaster, I know that for some, there are more memories of pain or regret. Though you may have suffered here, though you may not have felt welcome here, and on behalf of our community, I apologize for that, I am heartened to see you graduating with us today, and you deserve to be so very proud. In closing, I believe that learning to feed each other, that bread with dignity, will become increasingly important in the coming years, and that the vulnerability that we felt here as we were challenged to grow, and to take risks will be felt again and in greater degrees. But we deny or fear our vulnerability at our own peril, for it is through being vulnerable that we trust and embrace one another. Our bonds of trust and companionship may be strained during our lifetimes like never before, as financial crises and environmental crises threaten to turn us selfishly against one another. And so we, graduates of the humanities and arts and sciences, are entrusted with the responsibility of reminding our peers during these times of strife that we all share two fundamental truths: our desire for happiness and our vulnerability. Our responsibility is great, but today is proof that each of us, in big ways or small, is capable of fulfilling it. Congratulations, my friends. I wish you much happiness and good luck to us all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dean Suzanne Crosta from the Faculty of Humanities, and I would like to draw your attention to the recipients of the awards of session from the Faculty of Humanities and the Arts and Science programs listed on page 12 and 13 of your program. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
Now I will again call upon our President, Dr. Patrick Dean, who will present the President's Award of Excellence in Student Leadership.
Mary Koziel. Right there. Mary Koziel has helped build communities on McMaster's campus in the local region and around the world. As President and CEO of the McMaster Students' Union, her collaborative and inclusive approach led to the protection of the McMaster Art History Program, the development of the McMaster Health and Wellness Center, and the initiation of a number of projects directed at improving sustainability and food awareness on campus, including the Mac Farm Stand Farmers Market. Previously, she had key volunteer roles as the social coordinator and Welcome Week representative for the Maroons, as a leadership developer for the Horizons Leadership Conference, as an arts and science SRA representative, as external liaison for Amnesty International, and as secretary of the McMaster Outdoors Club. She was also the chair of the MSU Charity Ball, which raised more than $31,000 for local and national charities. Off campus, Mary has volunteered with the Big Brothers and Sisters Clubs of Hamilton and Burlington, and with Global Youth Network trips to Thailand, India, and Brazil, where she helped with projects and raised awareness for the needs of local communities. Mary won the Sam Watson Memorial Award in 2009 for her extracurricular contributions to the community at large. In addition to leading the McMaster student community, Mary was also a 4-year member of the McMaster varsity women's rugby team. Finally, Mary is an exceptional student, having earned the McMaster Honor Award from 2006 to 2009, the University Senate Scholarship in 2009 and 2010, and the Hamilton Industrial Scholarship in 2008. It gives me great pleasure to present Mary Koziel with the President's Award of Excellence in Student Leadership.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduands are now graduates, which makes them alumni of McMaster University. So I would like to introduce you to Mr. Mark Stewart, a representative of the McMaster Alumni Association. Mark will deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Wilson, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the McMaster class of 2011. My name is Mark Stewart, and I'm a very proud McMaster alumni. I first walked across the stage in 2006 when I, like you, graduated from Humanities with my honors BA in History. And I had the opportunity to have this experience again in 2010 when I received my MBA from the group. As the first Vice President of the McMaster Alumni Association, I have the privilege today of representing the McMac alumni family, a family that's grown in number here this afternoon. However, the 147,000 members of the McMac Alumni Association are not your typical family. We don't expect invitations to your birthday, and we won't ask you to help us move furniture. But no matter where you head after graduation, you'll probably bump into some members of this family. McMaster alumni can be found in 128 countries across the world, and we're united by common experiences and our shared McMaster pride. We're proud when Ivan Reitman from the class of '69 is nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. We're proud when Julie Angus from the class of '97 becomes the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean, or when Stephen Elop from the class of '86 becomes the CEO of Nokia, overseeing 132,000 employees across the world. Today, you join the ranks of these accomplished and respected McMaster alumni. In 2009, the Alumni Association surveyed grads and found that pride in our alma mater and our fellow alumni is extremely high. The reasons for this pride are numerous, and they're different for each individual. However, if you do need some external validation, the academic ranking of world universities ranks McMaster as one of only 4 universities in Canada within the top 100 universities in the world. With, by some counts, over 10,000 universities in the world, you've received a degree from a university ranked in the top 1% of universities across the globe. So yes, you've certainly accomplished something to be very proud of. Beyond being proud, I encourage you to exercise that pride by staying connected. As a result of the survey, we developed a strategic plan, we introduced new programming, we increased the number of events outside the Hamilton area, and we expanded the use of social media to keep our alumni connected. You can watch out for the alumni magazine, the McMaster Times, in your mailbox, but also follow the association on email, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can join us at one of the hundreds of alumni events we organize annually across the world from Hamilton to Hong Kong. You can play in our flag football tournament, attend events for kids, or listen to lectures by well-known profs. You may not be aware, but while you were busy earning your degree, the Alumni Association was already working on your behalf. With donations to McMaster University Student Center, the David Brearley Athletic Center, and Alumni Field, as well as bursaries and scholarships that many of you may have received, we hope that the Alumni Association has helped to create the best possible student experience for you and for future students at McMaster. As an alumni, through the association, you now have access to value-added services like home, auto, and life insurance. You'll be provided with access to McMaster libraries, the University Club, and career services. We'll even be helping you preserve today's convocation memories with our photography program. In 5 or maybe 50 years, we'll help you reconnect to a long-lost friend, and we'll help you stay in touch with your faculty and your student groups and clubs. And long before you become nostalgic for the good old days, we'll help you kickstart our career with our young alumni activities, networking events, and an introduction to our alumni career coach. As you take your McMaster experiences into the years and decades ahead, remember, you're all ambassadors and advocates of your alma mater. Your achievements are the best showcase of the value of a McMaster degree. So today, we celebrate your success as students, and we toast to the promise of your bright futures. 4 years of university can fly by, but now it's time to engage in the next phase of your lifelong relationship with McMaster as proud and engaged alumni. We offer you our most sincere congratulations and a warm welcome to the McMaster alumni family. Thank you.
And now I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
Mr. Chancellor, Madam Provost, Dr. Smith, Dean Croster, distinguished faculty, graduating students, ladies and gentlemen. Within the walls of this auditorium today, graduates, you're both in and out of time. And the medieval rituals in which we've all been engaged today drive home that message. For now, for this few hours, your past is concluded and your future is not yet demanding attention. You can bask in the pleasure of your achievement, in the fellowship of your classmates and friends, and in the adoration or perhaps the relief of your parents and family. So congratulations, warmest congratulations for all you have done. Convocation is a gathering of the university family, as you have heard. And with this ceremony today, we welcome you permanently into membership of that family. And in that respect, this event is not unlike a wedding, which thought prompts me to remark, in case you hadn't noticed, since your admission, we've in fact only been engaged. The results of your final examinations have provided good evidence of an honorable intention. And so today we have tied the knot which binds you to McMaster forever. That word forever, you notice I find myself again looking into the future. So much for being both in and out of time. The future awaits, and you must go from here and meet it, or perhaps it would be better to say that for each of you, a future awaits, and you must go forth and you must make it. The rewording is important because my theme today in talking to you is not that your future is predetermined, but rather that when you leave this hall, you will each be agents in history, relatively free, with power to shape both your own destiny and the destiny of the planet. If you're able to find within yourselves the will to do that, and I expect you shall do so in one way or another, the real question to be answered must be how. And by how, not by what practical means, but in what spirit will you approach the world? If I were to try your patience and push again my wedding analogy, I might think of quoting from the marriage service to remind you that your agency in history is not by any to be enterprised nor taken in hand unadvisedly, lightly, or wantonly, but reverently, discreetly, advisedly, soberly. That would be going too far, I think. But as Norman said, the graduates of this fine university, in taking up their agency in the world, do have responsibilities that must be discharged. With the privilege of higher education, and in particular a McMaster education, comes the expectation that your future actions will redound to the benefit of those less privileged, of humanity at large, and through all of that, to the credit of your alma mater. The future which you make for yourselves is ours also. So in what spirit should you approach that future? I know that on occasions like this, people are given to hyperbole. What do you say when you appear on the stage at the Kodak Theatre in Hollywood ready to accept an Academy Award? We all know the speech that is prescribed, and it runs something like this. I just want everyone to know that if you just want something hard enough, and if you work for it hard enough, you will succeed. That's what happened with me, and look, here I am. By how many callow new faces in Hollywood have those words been spoken over the years? I suspect my most recent recollection of this might be of Christina Aguilera at the Grammys. I'm not sure. There's a version of the same speech that is not infrequently given from the convocation stage, and of course I would applaud such a positive message. It is certainly true that in some cases sheer disciplined determination does bring success, but certainly not always, despite that callow new actor's claim to the contrary. So today I want to remind you of and to recommend to you the virtue of a different kind of self-discipline. And perhaps it won't reverberate for you quite so well today, when all you feel, as is your right, like kings and queens of the world. But I hope that in time you will come to understand better its importance. I was recently in Beijing to attend a World Summit of University Presidents, part of which was a special session focusing on the issue of the universities and social responsibility. On show there were, as you can imagine, many different understandings of what we might mean by the phrase social responsibility. Indeed, one was struck by the lack of unanimity even on how one would define a university. But one intervention in particular has stayed with me in the weeks since my return. And this came from Dr. Junichi Hamada, president of Tokyo University, who indicated that in the days since the earthquake and tsunami devastated the northeastern part of his country, Japanese society has markedly lost confidence in science and technology. And in consequence, a gap has opened up between the universities and the public at large, where once the two were joined in a relationship of optimism, confidence, and high aspirations, there is now skepticism and doubt. In part, this news was easy to understand and not surprising. The failure of engineers and scientists successfully to contain the crisis at the Fukushima nuclear power plant was bound to provoke a collapse of confidence. And as the days have turned into weeks, and as prior assurances about the safety of people living in close proximity to the plant have been shown to be unfounded, cynicism has proliferated. But still, I found myself wondering why the fact of the earthquake and the tsunami themselves should affect public confidence in science. After all, while it is true that scientists may be able on rare occasions to predict disasters, and quite commonly to advise us on preparing for them, it remains the case that science can no more prevent natural disasters occurring than Canute, the Danish king of England, could successfully command the tide to halt and not wet his feet and robes. I'm sure most of you know that story. It is a story that is frequently misunderstood, though. In our modern age, Canute is usually cited as an example of early Western megalomania. Apparently, what we know, namely that the seas will listen to no man, he did not know, being drunk on power and deluded by religious superstition. Or so the popular version goes. If you read the one extant and more or less contemporary account of Canute's watery encounter, however, and this is the one that appears in the work of the 12th century chronicler Henry of Huntingdon, the story is very different. The point of Canute's actions is to remind his courtiers and clerics of nothing less than the limitations of human knowledge and human power. Once his feet are wet and he has made his point, he takes off and hangs up his crown. The moral of the story, told 800 years ago, is that there are very significant limitations to the human ability to achieve, and that in some contexts our desires and aspirations as well as our technology can be irrelevant. At the conference in Beijing, I wondered whether the public disillusionment of which Dr. Hamada spoke was not in some way connected to, or even perhaps nurtured by, the extravagance with which universities occasionally frame their aspirations, making claims to an unrealistic level of influence and effectiveness. What happened to Canute on the beach at Bosham in West Sussex in England was natural and expected, and it could only have been cause for humiliation and embarrassment if he had previously asserted that he could make the sea concede to his will. I'm not suggesting that science in Japan or anywhere else, for that matter, is subject to the level of self-delusion embodied in the popular conception of Canute. But I am wanting to sound a warning to you to reject the false certainties and spurious confidence in progress, which is one of the defining attributes of our time. I noticed that Dr. Hamada has posted on the web a very fine essay on his university and its public responsibility. There he makes claims with which I would certainly agree, namely that in our turbulent and changing age, academia is expected to sketch the outline of a new form of society and mark the path to reach that goal. This is a proper ambition, and if you were to read the essay, you would notice that it is expressed in terms appropriately modest in a post-Fukushima context. There are no grand claims for the ability of science to conquer all challenges. But it has to be noted, nevertheless, that Dr. Hamada expresses the aspirations of the Academy through a linear metaphor. We're on a path which implicitly must lead somewhere, and the presumption we're invited to make is that where it leads will in some sense be better than where we are at present. This kind of thinking used to be called evolutionary meliorism, because it assumed that we are always in the process of becoming better than we were, of being more powerful, more insightful, more in command of nature and its intractable forces. Is this the spirit in which you should approach your future? Optimism certainly has its place, an important place, in building our culture and society, in underwriting scientific speculation and investigation, in driving forward to solve the problems of humanity through research and humanitarian work. There is undoubtedly truth in what the young actor says when he asserts that if you believe in yourself or in a cause, anything is possible. But it is only a partial truth, and a sentimental one at that. On an occasion like this, as you celebrate what you have achieved, what you know, and what you can do, it is important to hold yourself to the discipline of acknowledging what you don't know, what you may not be able to do, and the possibility that some achievements may remain forever beyond your grasp. Why is this so? We habitually talk as if the great achievements of humankind were all the result of determination, resolve, and the single-minded pursuit of an idea. Even if that is true, a countervailing point is that single-mindedness lies also at the base of our greatest man-made tragedies. And that is why skepticism and doubt must go with you into your futures. I will end by recalling the late Jacob Bronowski, mathematician, biologist, and historian of science, who in a famous television series aired in 1973, bent down to lift from a pond at Auschwitz a wet handful of the ashes of the Holocaust dead. And this is what he said: "Science is a very human form of knowledge. We're always at the brink of the known. We always feel forward for what is to be hoped. Every judgment in science stands at the edge of error and is personal. Science is a tribute to what we can know, although we are fallible." In the end, the words were said by Oliver Cromwell. And Bronowski quotes Cromwell: "I beseech you in the bowels of Christ, think it possible you may be mistaken." Take note of Bronowski's first assertion. Science is a very human form of knowledge. The essence of all human activity is that it stands on the edge of error, is limited, is personal, partial, potentially mistaken. Unless we imagine that only scientists are prone to think themselves, their opinions, and their hypotheses infallible, pause to consider the number of artists, writers, and musicians who have held and acted upon inflexible, repugnant, and inhumane views. Remember the anti-Semitic ramblings of the poet Ezra Pound, Martin Heidegger's statements on the inner truth and greatness of the National Socialist movement in Germany in 1935, and the case of Richard Strauss, described by Thomas Mann as a Hitlerian composer. And remember furthermore that Adolf Hitler himself was both a monster and an avid painter of landscapes. Of the same mind as Oliver Cromwell, Sir Lawrence van der Post wrote not so long ago that human beings are perhaps never more frightening than when they are convinced beyond doubt that they are right. And in that fundamental aspect, scientist and poet are of imagination all compact, if I might borrow and adapt the famous line from Midsummer Night's Dream. The university exists not only to foster the finding of new knowledge or the creation of new art, music, and literature. Its purpose is also to help us understand these things as products of the human mind and imagination, and through them to grasp what it means to be human, standing always in history and on the edge of error. Perhaps that latter is the most difficult of our tasks, both within the university and after we leave it, for the simple and paradoxical reason that to progress in any way, we must acknowledge that we too stand always in an intimate personal relation to self-delusion and ignorance. Graduates, your future must be a triumph not of the personal will, but of humane wisdom. And in that spirit, I congratulate you, wish you well, and commend you to the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Dean. It's a very tough act to follow, if I may say so. Your words of inspiration and leadership, especially, I would think, resonating with humanities graduates, I found particularly inspiring. Thank you for that. Thank you also, Norman, for your words. Very well spoken. I call him Norman because I have had an opportunity to serve on the Board of Governors of the university with Mr. Kearney. And I think this is a young man who has a great feel for the future and I think much promise. Thank you also from Mark from the Alumni Association. This has been a very long afternoon. We're almost 5 o'clock now, and I realize that I'm all that stands between everybody here and some refreshments, and I won't keep you very much longer. I'd like to congratulate all the award winners, Mary, and all the others that have stood out and won awards in the humanities field. I also thought that the Bachelor of Music crowd was perhaps the most enthusiastic, if I could say that. Perhaps next time you could get together and perform at some point during the ceremony, but I sensed a certain enthusiasm and optimism among you. Congratulations for that. Immediately following Convocation, a reception will be held for humanities graduates and their guests in the Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Rooms B and C. Reception for the Arts and Science Program graduates and their guests will be at Convocation Hall at McMaster University, room 213, at 7 p.m. this evening. Flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. I'd like to once again congratulate all of you who have received your degrees today and wish you the very best of luck in your futures. I'd ask you to remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. I'd ask you to rise with me now and please join in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.